Imagine this. You're up late, eyes glued to your screen, wondering if there's a secret pathway to creating an entire novel in mere weeks. You've probably heard the whispers, how only gifted people can finish a manuscript, or that real writers lock themselves away for years. But are those claims actually true, or is there an unspoken truth that anyone can tap into? Some say finishing a draft quickly cheapens the craft, while others point to best-selling authors who drafted their work at lightning speed. Rumors swirl around how real novelists are born with a divine spark, leaving everyone else in the dark. Yet in the midst of all these myths, there's a bold, surprising revelation. Anyone can write with the right mindset and perseverance, and the story behind that revelation might change the way you see writing forever. Bookshelves and social media are overflowing with tales of child geniuses, people who publish bestsellers in their teens or who seem to churn out top-notch prose with zero apparent effort. This has led many to assume that novel writing is an exclusive club, open only to those endowed at birth with an otherworldly gift. But is that really the full picture? There's an age-old idea that some individuals are born great, while others struggle just to string words together. Critics love to point out how Mary Shelley penned Frankenstein at an age when most of us are still trying to figure out life, fueling the belief that if you don't display brilliance early on, you'll never make it. But a closer look at literary history reveals a more eye-opening truth. Plenty of best-selling authors started late or battled constant rejection before they were ever taken seriously. Nobel Prize winner Toni Morrison, for instance, didn't publish her first novel until she was nearly 40. Bram Stoker wrote Dracula in his 50s. These examples expose an often ignored reality. Talent can emerge or evolve at any stage. So which is it? Are gifted authors the only ones who succeed, or can someone with zero natural flair still become a powerhouse novelist? The answer lies somewhere in the middle. There's mounting evidence that born talent is overhyped, while qualities like unbreakable drive, empathy, and self-awareness end up being far more important. The true shocker is how many revered writers publicly admit to major struggles during their early days, only to break through by sheer, unyielding devotion. Yet even those who accept that greatness can be made still wonder. If it's about discipline, how do we handle the unspoken emotional and mental hurdles that come with writing? And if the craft can indeed be learned, why do so many amateurs give up before the first draft is finished? But that's not the entire story. There's an even deeper aspect to this question, a secret that every aspiring author should know. Let's delve into the next section, where we'll uncover the real reason behind the phrase anyone can write. We've all heard the rallying cry, you can do anything you set your mind to. It pops up in motivational speeches, self-help books, even in Pixar's Ratatouille, which famously insists that anyone can cook. Yet for some reason, when it comes to writing, people get skeptical. Critics say only a select few can manage a novel that resonates with readers. Everyone else, they're doomed to produce self-indulgent fluff, right? In reality, the idea that anyone can write is more than just a feel-good slogan. It springs from centuries of observation that individuals who put in consistent effort often outperform those resting on so-called talent alone. Musicians, athletes, and yes, authors have all proven that competence can morph into near mastery through deliberate practice and unstoppable determination. Still, many harbor cynicism. How can it be true when the publishing industry looks so competitive? The shocking secret is that most manuscripts never see the light of day simply because their authors didn't finish them. Abandoned drafts fill drawers and hard drives around the world, never given the chance to shine or even undergo serious revision. While talent is useful, it's the completion of a first draft, no matter how rough, that sets serious writers apart from those who just tinker. But there's another puzzle piece. Too often, we link anyone can write to a sort of mechanical slog, as though all it takes is willpower. We ignore the creative spark that can be ignited by empathy, individuality, and originality. Yes, drive matters enormously, but so does the writer's ability to observe the human experience and relate to others on the page. When combined, determination and empathy unlock a powerful force, turning even the most hesitant beginner into a storyteller with something genuine to say. Of course, not everyone believes these truths. Some controversies swirl around fast drafting methods, claiming they dilute real artistry. Let's expose those controversies next and see what they reveal about the writing world as a whole. When you mention writing a novel in 1 month, many people's eyes go wide. They either think you're joking or that you're setting yourself up for inevitable catastrophe. Yet every November, tens of thousands attempt precisely that during National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo. It's a challenge to produce 50,000 words in 30 days, an intimidating goal to say the least. This event has ignited fierce debates in creative circles. Some accuse NaNoWriMo of flooding the market with unedited, subpar drafts and encouraging superficial writing. Others argue it cultivates a supportive environment, showing that anyone can draft a novel if they commit. Critics also raise eyebrows over rumors of unethical shortcuts, like AI ghostwriters, for speed drafting. The conversation grows heated, with purists insisting that true artistry demands years of solitary toil, while the NaNoWriMo crowd celebrates community-driven production. But this debate overlooks an essential dimension. Even if you draft a novel in record time, you still have months, or possibly years, of refining ahead. There's a misconception that a fast draft equals a cheaply produced book. Realistically, most authors who dash off a quick first draft understand it's just the beginning. The entire point is to finally have a full manuscript to work with, rather than letting the story remain trapped in their heads. The pushback doesn't end there. Some industry professionals secretly admire fast drafters who can produce workable manuscripts, yet they remain public skeptics because it challenges the old mystique around writing. People want to believe there's something nearly mystical about penning a novel. A drawn-out, angst-filled ordeal that only the anointed can survive. The irony is that these controversies often miss the underlying value of fast drafting. It proves to the writer that finishing is possible. And once the writer knows that, the real artistry, revision, deepening themes, shaping characters, can begin. But the perfection myth still lingers, and it can paralyze newcomers who think they have to get everything right on the first attempt. Let's take a closer look at how that myth can derail creativity and keep countless stories from ever being told. In the quiet corners of every library, you'll find meticulously polished novels that seem to glow with literary brilliance. Readers often assume these final products emerged fully formed, evidence of a writer's innate genius. Yet hidden in desk drawers and digital folders are earlier drafts so messy, so unrefined, they could shock you with their rawness. The truth is, first drafts are almost always flawed. So why do so many aspiring novelists cling to an impossible standard of perfection from page one? Part of the blame goes to romanticized notions of the suffering artist. There's this image of a lone genius who writes each sentence flawlessly in a single pass. In reality, the biggest names in literature often produce notoriously chaotic rough drafts. Some talk openly about the pages of meandering thoughts and contradictory plot lines they generate before stumbling upon a coherent shape for their story. What's truly scandalous is how rarely this messy process is highlighted. People who dream of writing a novel may not realize how liberating it is to just get the words out, no matter how clumsy they look at first. Fear of imperfection stops them before they even begin. If they knew how many beloved classics started off with cringe-worthy errors, they might charge forward with confidence, embracing each awkward sentence as a stepping stone. In fact, countless accomplished writers say that finishing your first draft is more critical than obsessing over immediate brilliance. That's because revision is where the magic happens. Once you have a full manuscript, no matter how flawed, you can transform it into something cohesive and compelling. Without that initial unrefined creation, you have nothing to polish. Still, perfectionism isn't the only obstacle. Balancing everyday life with the demands of writing is another critical challenge, especially for those of us who aren't able to devote all our time to the page. Let's open that door next and see what the hidden battles of juggling your life and your novel look like. Here's a scenario that might sound familiar. You wake up early, rush to your day job or school, then try to squeeze in family obligations, social time, and maybe a quick workout. By the time you can sit down to write, you're drained. Your eyes glaze over the page and your motivation slips away. How are you supposed to create anything meaningful when your schedule is already overflowing? It's tempting to blame a lack of free hours for not making progress, but the real challenge often lies deeper. Writers who manage to produce a draft while balancing life aren't superhuman. They simply adopt a new perspective. They realize that any small increment of progress, be it 100 words or 1,000, adds up over time. They also learn to write in imperfect locations, on their lunch break, in waiting rooms, or during lulls at work. Some even scribble ideas on their phone while commuting. What you rarely hear is how emotionally draining this can be. You might feel guilty for ignoring loved ones in favor of your fictional world, or resentful that your life is so hectic you can't devote more than a few minutes a day to your project. Worse, the fear of not being real enough as a writer can creep in when you don't have hours of quiet solitude. But that guilt is a trap, discouraging people from forging ahead. Paradoxically, many part-time novelists discover an unexpected advantage. Having limited time forces a new level of focus. They learn to dive straight into their manuscript without overthinking. In short bursts, they produce content that might otherwise be lost to procrastination. Yes, it's draining. Yes, it can lead to feeling stretched thin. But these quick, determined writing sessions often sustain a forward momentum that polishes your craft through sheer consistency. Yet the life of a writer, especially one juggling multiple responsibilities, can also stir emotional turbulence. Anxiety, self-doubt, and unexpected bursts of joy all swirl together. Let's step into that emotional whirlwind and uncover why writing can be surprisingly therapeutic when approached the right way. A lot of writers describe themselves as living inside their own heads, constantly daydreaming or reflecting on their experiences. While non-writers may see that as daydreaming, there's an intense personal transformation taking place beneath the surface. The act of writing helps many people process their fears, regrets, and aspirations. Sometimes they discover truths about themselves through their fictional characters that they'd never have confronted otherwise. It can be startling to realize how much penning a novel can ease emotional burdens. Writers often say they feel lighter after a productive session, as though they transferred a fraction of their inner tension onto the page. This phenomenon isn't purely anecdotal. There's a growing body of evidence suggesting that expressive writing contributes to mental health by clarifying chaotic feelings and offering a safe space to navigate them. This is the side of novel writing that rarely makes the headlines. Far too often, we focus on the frustration of working out a plot hole or the heartbreak of rejection letters. We forget that, for many, the practice of storytelling is itself an act of healing. That's one of the reasons why even the humblest short story can hold personal significance for its author, regardless of whether it ever garners commercial success. However, it's not all butterflies and rainbows. Confronting emotional depths can lead you to painful realizations or cause you to relive memories you'd rather suppress. Characters may embody aspects of yourself you're uncomfortable acknowledging, forcing you to engage with hidden emotions. But this is precisely where empathy, both for your characters and for yourself, begins to grow. That empathy, ironically, is also what drives readers to connect with your story. When a writer truly understands the emotional stakes their characters face, the authenticity resonates with the audience. Yet authenticity is only half the puzzle. Finishing the manuscript is still crucial. Let's uncover why seeing your novel all the way through is the ultimate game changer that can separate dreamers from doers. Near the end of every writer's journey, one realization stands above all else. Finishing your draft changes everything. Whether you do it in a month, a year, or a decade, the mere act of completion sets you apart from those who only talk about writing. Unfinished manuscripts can haunt you, reminding you of potential left unexplored. But once you type the end on a first draft, no matter how messy, an exhilarating sense of accomplishment often takes over. Why is that so powerful? Because a completed draft isn't just about bragging rights. It's tangible proof that you had the discipline and vision to see your story through. Even if the manuscript is riddled with issues, you've reached a milestone that puts you in a position to revise. Revision is where a fledgling story can truly transform into something remarkable. But you can't revise a blank page. There's a rumor in some creative circles that completing a novel quickly is cheating, as if you've bypassed the sacred grind. In truth, fast drafting doesn't circumvent the revision process. On the contrary, it often amplifies it. You'll likely spend many months, even years, polishing the raw material you generated in that sprint. But you'll be working from a complete blueprint instead of just an idea floating around your mind. This just finish it moment also alters your perspective. You start to see writing as an achievable series of steps, not an impossible dream. That realization impacts every future project. Knowing you can make it to the finish line once means you can do it again. From there, you might discover a whole new confidence in your creative abilities, branching out into other genres or even mediums. So, does that mean writing a novel is a breeze once you've done it once? Absolutely not. Each new project has unique challenges, and every writer faces new doubts. But having that first complete manuscript proves beyond a doubt that you're capable. And that changes how you see yourself as a creator, and how the world sees you too. Let's recap what we've uncovered on this journey: the myth of born great versus made great. Those envied child prodigies might dominate the conversation, but the truth is that many beloved authors started much later or overcame countless rejections. The shocking truth behind anyone can write. With discipline, empathy, and the courage to keep going, even the most uncertain rookie can produce a compelling story. The controversies of writing fast events like NaNoWriMo spark debate about quality versus quantity, but the real hidden benefit is simply proving to yourself that a complete draft can be done. Debunking the perfection myth. Flawless first drafts don't exist. Embracing imperfection is the key that unlocks your potential. Balancing life and novel writing. You don't need a secluded cabin or endless free hours, just dedication, ingenuity, and sometimes writing in stolen moments. The emotional payoff. Writing can be an act of self-discovery and even therapy, revealing parts of yourself you never knew were there. The just finish it. Revelation. Completion separates those who dream about writing from those who actually do it. Once you finish, your perspective shifts, and you realize you can create again and again. So, where does this leave you? If you've ever felt the urge to write a novel, whether it's a fantasy epic, a heartfelt romance, or a gritty thriller, this is your sign to begin. Start messy, start small, start with something that excites you. Then push yourself beyond the midpoint and wrap up that first draft. The magic is in the doing, not in the daydreaming. And if you need a final nudge, just think about Ratatouille's iconic message: anyone can cook. If a rat can master fine cuisine, maybe there's no reason to believe you can't produce a novel that stirs people's hearts. After all, you don't have to be born for this. You just have to be driven enough to see it through. The question is, will you let these revelations be just another source of motivation you forget by tomorrow? Or will you take that next step, open a fresh document, and start writing the story only you can tell? It might sound dramatic, but in a world of endless possibilities, all that's left is to begin. Because if even a single person out there, someone with no special advantages, can turn an idea into a completed novel, then what does that say about you? Perhaps you're far more capable than you dare to imagine. Anyone can cook, and in the same spirit, anyone can write. Now you know the truth. It's time to decide. Will you finish your story?